Hi, welcome to my latest video. Happy New Year to all my viewers and my subscribers, my followers on Instagram, and those of you on Facebook as well. I finally managed to get my Instagram page to synchronize up with my Facebook page. So if you aren't an Instagram user, you can follow me on my Facebook page, Beavis Pits, or alternatively join one of the Freelander 2 Facebook groups. Okay, so there are quite a few of them. I tend to frequent the off-road Freelander 2 off-road group, I think it's called, something like that. I'll stick a thumbnail up now. Yeah, here we are. It's 2023. What happened to 2022? In fact, what happened to 2020 and 21 and 22? The past couple of years have just been a complete blur, really. I haven't done a channel update for a while. Okay, so I was doing these every sort of 4 to 6 months. I didn't do one in the summer. I don't know why. I was just too busy. I just didn't get one done. I was fitting my winch. That's what took all summer. Started that back in April, I think it was, and finally finished it about October, really. So here we are. It's dark and, well, it's light at the moment, but not very light. It's going to be dark in about an hour, and it's cold, and it's going to be raining very shortly. So I'm going to try and keep this quick. I've got notes here which I'm going to go through. I'm just going to do a quick recap of what I worked on my car last year and what I've got coming up in the next few months. Okay, so I've now done about 120 videos on my YouTube channel, and I passed the milestone of 1 million views a couple of months ago. Okay, that's really good. I've now got nearly 4,500 subscribers as well, so thank you very much to everyone who watches my videos, everyone who likes them and subscribes, and also to those of you who visit my web page and buy some of the parts that I've made for the Freelander 2. Okay, all of that revenue from those parts sales helps to subsidize my channel and pay for all the tools and parts and everything else that I have to buy in order to do all of these projects. So let's have a quick recap now at projects I worked on in 2022. Okay, so started off doing a project, I think it was around January the 1st, actually, last New Year. I put up video of the hole of doom, okay, which is a hole in the bottom of the air filter box which can let water in and wreck the engine. That video actually was the most popular video last year, over 9,000 views. So hopefully I have saved some of you from a watery grave. Okay, so there is a rubber diaphragm that you can fit in the bottom of the airbox there to prevent the water sort of coming up as you go wading, but still let some water out. I will be looking at doing some kind of sort of bilge pump mechanism. The rubber washer really is really sort of just to allow small amounts of water out. Okay, but if you go properly wading and you do end up with a load of water going in, the rubber washer, even the Land Rover thin washer, will not allow water to get out quick enough. Okay, so really need some sort of like alarm or like water level sensor, float switch, or automatic pump or something like that can just pump out the water in high volume should any water enter that. Now, of course, the ultimate solution is a snorkel. I am working on a snorkel. Okay, that project has sort of been on the back burner for quite a while. I will get back to that very soon. I also did a video on wiper blades. I know that's a sort of a consumable item, that's just something that everybody knows how to fit a wiper blade, but some people did actually comment saying thank you very much, I didn't know how to do this. They were going to the garage or Halfords or wherever, getting people to fit wiper blades for them. So I've put up the part numbers. I've also tried various lengths of wiper blade. I actually found that slightly longer one on the passenger side fits, and interestingly, on the rear you can get away with a 15-inch wiper blade rather than the standard 13. It just gives you a bit more visibility out the back. So that video was well received. I did a video on Bluetooth pairing. I also looked at the alarm, sort of locking the car and basically locking it, and then an hour later the alarm would go off for no reason, even though the car was all closed up and locked, and it was the switch on the bonnet. Okay, not that's a crash sensor, don't meddle with that, but in here somewhere there is a switch, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so there's a little metal sort of spring with a little micro switch in there. Okay, mud gets into that and it stops working. Okay, so common problem there. So in the first video, the video that I put up during the summer, I showed how to bypass that switch. Okay, so that it allows you to lock the car, effectively disables the bonnet alarm trigger. Okay, so it does mean your bonnet is then not totally secure, but as a emergency fix, it is very, very quick and easy to do. Now, the proper fix, of course, is to actually change the switch for a new one, and I will be showing that very, very soon. Take the headlight out, you get in there, pull off the old switch, put it on, real quick and easy to do. The most difficult bit is buying the right switch, okay, because there's about 4 different ones of these. Okay, so I will do a video on that, look at the part numbers, explain which switch you need for which years and all that kind of thing. So what else did I do? I looked at fuel caps. Okay, now this fuel cap video I thought would hardly get any views, and it's actually like my second most popular video last year. So I bought a fuel cap. I lost my fuel cap. I foolishly put it up onto the roof of the car, drove off, and it was never seen again. Okay, so I bought another fuel cap, went to fit it, and it didn't fit. I was like, what's going on here? This is a genuine Land Rover Freelander 2 fuel cap. Went to put it in, would not thread in. Okay, so there are different threads available. Okay, so it's all done by chassis number, the age of the vehicle, different years. The earlier ones have a sort of kind of like a thread like I've got there, and the later ones have a almost like a sort of bayonet kind of fit. It's a slightly different type of thread on the thing. It doesn't sort of seem to spin lots. It's a different type. So so you can't interchange the two. Okay, so if you haven't seen that video and you have lost your fuel cap, you do need to watch that, otherwise you'll end up buying the wrong one, and they're about £35 each. Okay, so you definitely don't want to be getting the wrong one with that. Okay, I also looked at scuttle drainage. Okay, so there are, and not a lot of people know this, there are some secret drain holes. Okay, there you can just see there underneath the wiper arm. There is one on the other side, and believe it or not, there's one in the middle. Some people know about the ones on the outside. I didn't until about a year ago. I've had this car like 10 years now, 9 years, didn't even know that there were drain holes there, but they're completely blocked up with mud. So cleared those, water's now sort of not pooling up here, it's now draining, but there is actually one in the middle as well, which I haven't even found yet, but apparently there is one there. All 3 of those go into sort of secret little drainage things which then kind of come out under the car somewhere. So I will be doing a part 2 of that video where I actually look properly at the route. So I in the first video I showed the holes and said here's where they are and here's how you clear them out. That's as far as I got. Okay, so I haven't actually looked at where the water actually goes when it drains. Okay, so that's going to be in part 2. So what else? Okay, so then the big one, the winch. 5-part video on the winch. All right, so this was a mega project. This took months, absolutely months. Okay, so 5 videos, each one probably on average about an hour long, and I fitted that. It's a Rhino £13,500 rated winch, and I had to sort of remove all the front, remove the cross member, fit the winch to a Muddy Mods winch tray, wire it all up. There was a lot to do. The cables weren't long enough, so I had to extend those. I had to do this sort of double fair lead kind of thing here with this little catch here because I've got this bumper surround. I also fitted a isolator switch here, so that's one of those red battery kind of isolator things there. And as well as that, the remote control, so there are wireless, the two wireless remote controls with this one, but just in case they fail, the batteries run out or whatever, I had to extend the wired remote control cable out to a little hidden socket on the fake air intake on the wing there. Okay, so that allows me then to feed the wire in through the window and if necessary winch and drive at the same time. What have I got coming up this year? Okay, so top of my list is the Webasto. Let's just move that out of the way. Okay, so the Webasto heater. Started this project years ago, prototyped it all on a big wooden board, got it running. It's been very, very cold lately, well, for the UK, -6. That's actually probably a warm day in Canada, but in the UK I had -6 the other day, really, really cold, and the car just wouldn't start. Okay, so the glow plugs, I've diagnosed the glow plugs are all gone. Okay, so they failed. That'll be a whole nother job to do. I'll do that once the weather warms up. But I thought, what a great opportunity to get this Webasto fitted. I've been trying to get on with this project and get it finished for years and years and years, and it's always been sort of down the list of projects to do, and now I need it. I actually need it, because if I could actually use this, then I could warm the car up, warm the engine, and then it would start no problem. It is a major project though, so there's probably going to be another 5-part video on fitting this. Okay, so that is the actual unit. It's this one's actually from a Jaguar, I think, or Range Rover. Yeah, no, it's a Jaguar one, but they fitted to Range Rovers, Discoveries, etc. It's a little diesel-fired heater. It has a water connection with a water pump. It has a fuel pump and a load of electronics and stuff that go with it. So I've got a little remote control key fob. So what I will be doing is fitting that somewhere in this very crowded engine bay. Okay, the cold climate Freelander 2s actually fit them sort of up in here somewhere, up in the wheel arch. I don't want to do that. I don't know, there's just something about that doesn't feel right to me. So I'm going to probably fit it maybe here, behind here. There's quite a lot of metal work. Pit Lane Kitty's going to help me fit that, and then she's going to test the car and check that it's warm enough afterwards. Okay, so the actual Webasto is probably the easy bit, really, because there's a lot of metal work and things behind here from where I've put the winch tray. So I'll kind of bolt that in. I will run cooling pipes from where the heater comes off. So this is a thermostat housing. I'll do a whole video. Okay, I will do a whole video on the cooling system. It's quite a complicated cooling system on this car, but this little pipe there sticking out, okay, so that one there is the heater feed. All right, so the heater hose kind of comes out, goes off through the heater, comes back, and then it goes through the EGR and all the rest down the back of the engine. What I will do is I'll take it down through the Webasto and back with a pump as well. Okay, and that is actually how the Webastos are rigged up in the factory. The only difference is the Webasto's over there rather than over here, but seeing as the hose is here, it would make sense to put it down here somewhere. I think I could even put it here, not sure, got plans for that area with this catch can. Now I'll talk more about that in a moment, but there's a lot to think about. There's not just water hose routing, there is fuel. I need a fuel takeoff from somewhere. Now there are some fuel pipes down here somewhere. It's like these ones come from the tank, and then that's from the tank. That's the feed back to the return pipe to the tank, go through the fuel filter, and then over here. So it could take a fuel line down there with fuel pump. It does need its own pump. Some people actually connect that all the way back to the tank with fuel lines underneath the car and things like that. That sounds like a lot of work to me. So I'll have to think about that. And also the electrics. Okay, so I bought this thing. It is, oh, what's that? So sensitive relay instruction. Okay, I'll have to be careful what I say if it's sensitive. Don't want to upset it. but it is a smart battery isolator. Now this thing allows a second battery to be connected, because if I use the main battery to power the Webasto, that thing draws 10 amps, it'll flatten the main battery and it'll warm the car up, but then I won't be able to start because the main battery will be flat. So I need another battery, okay, which I'm going to mount underneath here, okay, being mindful of those drain holes. There's a big void there, okay, so I have the choice really. I could put the Webasto up there and the battery somewhere else. I've even seen people put the battery in the boot. I think it's better to keep the battery up there in the warm and the dry. The Webasto, which is really, when it's all connected up, is pretty sealed unit actually, so that actually can go behind here if it gets a bit wet. Doesn't really matter. So I need to use this thing to charge a second battery, which is then used for the Webasto, but not to start the car. So it's almost like a one-way. It's almost like a diode really. It's a sort of like a one-way charging mechanism. So when the engine's running, it charges the second battery, but then when you're starting the car, it doesn't use the second battery to start the car. So this is what people use for caravans and things like that, to charge their leisure batteries up. And then all of this lot, this is electronics that I took off the breadboard. We've got a load of control lights here, we've got remote control receivers, USB connections here, voltmeters, ammeters, all of that. It's yeah, what I plan to do is put all the electronics in here, okay, so in that box there somewhere. I've got my whiteboard. Okay, now I'm not going to do one of my Beavis Pitts lectures right now, okay, because we haven't got time for that, but this is a circuit diagram kind of showing how it will be done. Okay, so you've got the main, well no, the second battery there through the meter, you've got the fuel pump, you've got the Webasto itself, and then you've got receiver with a couple of relays and a water pump, but also the fan. It needs to turn the fan blowers on in the car, you see, so warm the car up. There's a lot to think about. What is that? Somebody appears to have drawn a cat on my whiteboard. So what I'm going to do, that won't rub out. Okay, I'll tell you what, forget the whiteboard. We'll do the whiteboard another time. Okay, so when I do the Webasto, I was going to say part 1 then, but I'm already on like about part 4 with the Webasto. So when I do the next Webasto video, I will draw out, we'll look at the circuit diagram in a bit more detail, and I will draw out a sort of more of a like a sort of like a physical sort of diagram showing the different modules and how they all connect together. So it's more of like a system diagram rather than an actual electronic circuit diagram. So okay, that's enough about the Webasto. What else have I got planned? So upcoming projects, Webasto. Right, so we talked about, yeah, the Webasto, the fuel, the water, plumbing. It also has an air duct, exhaust, battery, heater, blower control, control box, remote control, coolant routing. I'll do a video on the coolant if I haven't mentioned that already. I've also half lano guarded the underside of my car. Okay, the lano guard is a sort of rust proofer. I've sprayed it all up kind of around the back of the car, well basically under the back end, underneath there. Okay, so sprayed underneath the back with Lanogard, did that a couple of months ago. Do need to take the wheel arch liners out and spray up in there, and also remove these sort of sill covers, not actually those bits, it's those bits there, okay, which are the sill covers. Okay, you can get a lot of mud and water in that trap behind there, and that can cause rust, which is a very bad thing for Land Rovers. Okay, so Lanogarding, there'll be probably a 2-part video on Lanogard going up shortly. Bonnet catch, I've mentioned that. Oh, roof rack. Okay, so roof rack, I have a roof rack. Here it is. It is, I bought it on eBay from a seller called Expedition Racks. This is the aluminium one. They also do a steel one, won't for aluminium because it's lighter. I'm going to do a sort of a roof rack makeover. Okay, so I bought these work lights at the back, but they are cheap, horrible ones. Okay, and they've rusted. So I'm going to be fitting these nice Wow LED. Now Wow LED, they are a really good eBay seller. I think my light bar came from them. They're just good quality, heavy quality metal things with stainless steel fittings and everything like that, and very reasonably priced as well. Okay, so these are slightly bigger and probably quite a bit brighter than the other work lights that I've got up on the back there. But I'll be swapping those over, wiring those in, also wiring up my amber strobes there. You can see the amber strobes with my amber strobe brackets. Okay, so I might even fit 4 of those rather than 2. And then at the front we have other amber strobes there. Now, I used to have those amber strobes on the grill here. Okay, they were sort of like I don't know, it was like here and here, I think, but I needed to get them out of the way because I need to reach in for the free spool lever knob thing, which is in there somewhere. Can't actually see it at the moment, but it's in there somewhere, and the amber strobe was just making it a bit difficult to get in there. So what I'm going to do is put some bigger, brighter amber strobes on the front of the roof rack. Now, I bought these ones. These were also eBay. These were from Brighter Lights. Okay, sounds a bit cheap and Chinese, but these also are lovely. They are really decent quality, heavy metal, stainless steel fittings. They've even got 4 wires here. So normally you have the red, black for power, and then you have a sort of mode change or sync wire. This has got a mode change and a sync, separate wires. Okay, so very impressed with those. Haven't actually turned them on yet, but I'll do a video on fitting those, and I'm going to have to sort of rig some kind of wiring. Okay, so somewhere here I've got some little boxes here. So I've got a load of these, okay, like little sort of project box things. Okay, and because the wires, unfortunately, the biggest complaint with all these lights, the wires are not very long. I need to sort of fit some junction boxes. This one here was just bolted on as a temporary measure. That's going to come off. Probably need a junction box on each corner. Okay, so purely because the wires are just not long enough on the lights. So I could try and extend the wires. That's taking the lights all apart. So yeah, I'll just have to wire all that up as best I can, and then bring a wire sort of down and down in this little gutter here somehow. Okay, on the subject of wiring, keep getting asked by people how to take wires through the bulkhead. Okay, I will do a video on that. Let's just have a very quick look now. Okay, so I will do a proper video on this, but the place that you can take wires through 2 places. There at the bottom of that kind of flat area, flat oval, okay, or down below the alarm there is a big right angle rubber grommet, and you can just drill through the outer sort of edge of the rubber grommet. Okay, so that's roof rack. What else have we got on the list? A ladder. Oh, ladder. Here we go. So, ladder for a Freelander 2. Don't get too excited though. This is not a Mantech ladder. Okay, I think Mantech went out of business. They were the only people making ladders for Freelander 2. So, I have bought a Discovery 4 ladder, and it even says F Land Rover, Freelander Rover, or something like that. I don't know. It would almost work on a Freelander 2, so it could go there, which is going to cause issues with the number plate and the rear visibility, or it could go here. Okay, so that it hits the wing mirrors of transit vans on narrow country lanes. Haven't worked that out yet. Haven't worked out how to fit it. Haven't worked out quite where to put it, but it would be very useful just for getting up to the roof rack. Keep on having to get step ladders out and things like that. So that's the ladder. That will be coming up soon. I'll also be doing a video on the Haldex. Keep putting that one off. My Haldex is getting a bit rumbly. My rear diff is whining. The Haldex hasn't been serviced in 170,000 miles. It's long overdue. On my list, will be done soon, probably when the weather warms up a little bit. Checker plate. Okay, so we've got some checker plate here. You put some checker plate on the bonnet, just on the outer edges, not in the middle. I'll be spraying that black as well, probably. Now, why am I not putting checker plate in the middle? Well, okay, so I would like, and please don't laugh, but I would like to fit some bonnet vents, okay? Okay, so these are really decent, nice Defender bonnet vents, all right? And I want to put them here and here, actually real bonnet vents, okay? There's a practical reason for this, okay? So with the winch, that does reduce the airflow through the front, all right? Haven't had any overheating problems, despite us having the hottest summer ever, or the hottest year ever. We had like 41 degrees, new record for the UK. Didn't have any issues. However, I could just tell things were getting a little bit hot under the bonnet. The air comes in, there's nowhere for it to escape. The only place for it to escape is to sort of find its way somehow down the back of the engine. Okay, so there's inner wings, there's just nowhere for that heat to get out. Okay, so I thought if I put some bonnet vents, some nice looking bonnet vents on there, then that would just allow that heat to rise. I am absolutely not doing that for looks, okay? I am not a boy racer, all right? Oh, that reminds me, I need to paint my brake calipers red. Yeah, I'll have to add that to the list. Okay, so talking of brake calipers, I do need to do brake hoses. They are overdue, supposed to be changed every 10 years. I'm going to fit some nice braided brake hoses. And I'm also going to be doing a video on the key fob. So this is not my key fob, okay, this is an empty shell, okay, so the key fob has a battery in it, like a little button cell, just like that, okay, and it is actually a little rechargeable battery, and when you dock it, it's supposed to charge, and that will last for many, many years, probably about 10 years, but after a while, the key fob, either the battery starts to fade, or, just as common, the buttons wear out, okay. I've got two key fobs, two old normal proper key fobs, and one works fine and the other one is just getting a bit, you walk up to the car, you press, it doesn't unlock, you end up sort of doing that thing like holding it in the middle of the windscreen. Eventually it does unlock, but it's getting a bit iffy, so I'm going to open up the old key fob housing. I'm going to take out the circuit board, unsolder the battery, solder in a new one, and put the circuit board back into a new housing. Okay, so this is just an empty key fob shell with nice new buttons, and that should then work for another 10 years hopefully. So that will be a video coming up very, very soon, because at the moment I'm surviving on one key, which just has risk associated with it. Okay, so key fob battery going to be done soon. One other thing, just talking of electrical things like buttons and that, I'd really love some under bonnet lights here, and I would also really love some under boot lid lights. Okay, so wouldn't it be lovely if when I open the boot lid, just remembered I did this boot handle recently as well. That was another project I did. So wouldn't it be nice, instead of this funny little candle light here, actually had some nice bright lights mounted into here or somewhere here, which shone downwards, lit up the boot from above, but were on a tilt switch. So when you close the boot, they turn off automatically. I could do the same under the bonnet. How cool would that be? Open the bonnet, bing, lights come on. You could put a light sensor on it so they only work at night. That would be really, really good. Okay, so there's a project idea. So other things on the list: LED bulbs. LED bulbs are a bit of a hot topic at this time of year. Some lights you can change for LED. The side lights, I've been running LEDs for years. Main beam, technically not legal, but there's no beam pattern test for the MOT. Okay, so I've been running LED mains, LED sides for, well, ever since I've owned the car really. It's passed every MOT, no problem. Okay, number plate lights at the back, number plate lights underneath here, Those are from Powerful UK. And let's just put the, where's my key? I'll just turn those on. Okay, so you can, right, let's just put those on. There you go. Nice number plate lights. Okay, so there are other bulbs that you can do, like the interior lights. I've got blue lights inside the car in the roof. Obviously they go off when I'm driving along, so it's, you know, not causing any issues with the police. Puddle lights underneath the doors and under the mirrors as well, LEDs. Footwell lights, all LEDs, no problem at all. There are some lights that you need to be a bit careful changing to LED. Indicators, right? You put LEDs in, the indicators will probably flash twice as fast, okay, because it'll think that the bulb's blown. It's not seeing that current associated with proper bulbs. Brake and side lights, I tried LED bulbs. Brake and side lights, they were so similar in brightness that people couldn't tell when I was braking, okay, and they were sort of nearly going into the back of me. So high level brake light, that's okay. I've got LED in there. The only issue with that is it interferes with the radio, which is a bit annoying. That's an Osram one as well. It's supposed to be decent bulbs. Front fogs, okay, you can change for LEDs. You can actually get some quite nice front fogs where when you turn them on they're white, you turn them off, and you turn them on they're yellow. Now yellow light's much better in the fog and the spray, because it cuts through water vapour very easily. Okay, so I've got yellow bulbs. I've actually got proper bulbs. They're fog blasters, Osram fog blasters, and fog blasters, fog breakers I think they're called. They work really well. I actually had to use them the other day. It was terrible rain and spray, couldn't see where I was going, put the fogs on, you know, lit the surface of the road up really well. Okay, so that's fogs, but just be a little bit careful, of course, because LEDs don't give out much heat, so if it's freezing fog, they're just going to ice up, okay? That same thing applies to sort of other bulbs as well, if you change them to LEDs. Now, the only bulbs really that you do not want to change for LEDs are your dip beams, partly because they don't give out any heat, so your headlights are going to sort of steam up and ice up, but also it's actually illegal. Okay, so they've completely changed the rules. MOT testers were all given a sort of like an amendment to the MOT regulations about a year ago to say that any vehicle that's had its bulb swapped for LEDs it has to fail. Okay, now that actually as far as I know covers any bulbs, although the only one where they really test it is the dip beam. Okay, so LEDs in the dip probably going to fail on beam pattern, and even if they pass, you're just going to be one of those annoying drivers with really bright headlights. We've all had them behind us at night, and it's just antisocial. Okay, so absolutely refuse to put LEDs in my dip. Okay, so parts, it's getting dark now. Okay, so I need to push on through this. So parts, okay, so the parts I make parts for my own car, and then I make a few and sell them on my website, okay, beavispits.com. The main reason for that is it just generates a bit of extra money to help fund this channel. Okay, so my top selling item is my spotlight brackets. Okay, so originally I made strobes to go on here, and then somebody said, oh, can't you make a spotlight bracket? And yeah, I've sold sort of quite a few hundred of these. Okay, so this is a grey one. They're normally black, and then recently I thought, do you know what, I'm going to try and print one in silver for people with a silver grille. Now I ordered silver filament, and it basically is just grey, but I'll be adding these to the website soon. At the moment black only, but if you want silver grey, then you can buy these very soon. So they fit in like that, and then there is a rear part that goes on the other side, and now to remove the grille, you've got to take the whole front end off the car, but you don't have to do that to fit these. All right, the rear part, you put it through here and you put it in from the back, and you use a piece of string or a cable tie. Okay, I actually supply a cable tie with the brackets. When I send them, I put a cable tie in the jiffy bag. I've done a video on how to fit them by putting it round, pulling the cable tie and pulling the back into position. Keep hold of the cable tie while you screw it in. People are still dropping the rear part down the back, okay, and then it's gone forever, disappeared off into the darkness somewhere. You'll never get it back. Okay, so do be very careful when you're putting that rear part in, okay, and tightening up the screws. So I've also strengthened these up, okay. So these are now printed in ABS. Used to print in PLA, and then in the summer heat, a couple of people actually had warped brackets, okay. So the heat of the sun was so hot that it actually started to deform the brackets. ABS can take a much higher temperature, and just to be really safe, I've strengthened these parts here up, and I've also made this bit here wider, so there's a lot more plastic around that hole where the spotlight goes. And a lot of spotlights have a sort of, they don't just have a like a threaded rod with a washer, they have a sort of square clampy thing, okay. So that just gives a bit more room for that. So that is the brackets. I've also, I thought I'd branch out slightly. I bought a Discovery 4 grill at the Peterborough Land Rover show, and I've developed big brother of these brackets, okay. So these are just overgrown versions of the Freelander 2 one, and these allow strobes or spotlight mounts to go on the D4. Now the strobes I put on my website this morning. The brackets are currently being tested. Okay, the spotlight brackets fit fine on any of these normal holes, but just need a little bit of adjustment on the one here, because this diamond's slightly smaller where this badge goes. I thought I'd got that right, but a guy fitted it and said it was just a bit too tight. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the drawing board slightly on those, sort that out. Just on these brackets, I've actually started outsourcing these. Okay, so I've got a company in Sheffield making these, sort of mass production, which unfortunately doesn't keep costs down. It actually pushes costs up, because I can make these for a couple of quid. If I get someone else to make them, it's at least £5 a bracket, okay. But I just don't have 3D printing capacity or time to make hundreds of these things myself. All the other parts I make. Okay, so all these other things I make myself. These are the headlight rods, okay, so you can have these in any colour you want. All right, so these are the replacement headlight rods. I've actually got them fitted. The standard headlight rods, let's go and find one. I've got one in my boot. Let's find standard headlight rod. Okay, just to show you what it looks like. It looks like this, okay. Hopefully you can see that. There, standard headlight rod, okay. There's one, okay. And there is a broken one, okay. They snap very easily. Now I know you can buy those, you can buy replacements, but wouldn't it be nice just to have some headlight rods that actually last, don't break? So I've designed a much stronger version, okay. So this has the same clampy bit at the bottom, but it's much thicker. It's got a kind of a zigzag there. That zigzag wiggle bit there is actually to go, I don't know if you can see that, let's just unclip that, but there is, let's see if we can try, there's these coolant pipes, okay, so you've got to be a bit careful with those, to sort of make sure the bracket goes probably behind the coolant pipes, but the coolant pipe position seems to vary from car to car. So that's what that kink bit there is for. But just when you fit those, just make sure they're not rubbing on any coolant. It's a little black balancing pipe that comes out the top of the thermostat housing, goes off to the bottle. There's another one that comes out the radiator just to allow the steam out of the cooling system. Now it is getting pretty dark now, so I'm going to try and wrap this up. Okay, so headlight rods, catch can. Okay, so there's my catch can there. That's the old one. Been selling those with the bracket that I make for quite a few years. That product is now going to be retired. There's one left. If you want one of those, be quick. I've got one in stock, okay. And I'm going to be making a new catch can setup with this big Masso catch can. So this one, if I can just try and undo the top on it, so the top comes off, and don't know if that's actually meant to come apart, but anyway, and then inside Let's try and put this somewhere. There is a really nice big stainless gauze in there, okay, to catch all the grot that comes out of the engine. Okay, so why have I got a catch can and what does it do? Okay, so the gases that get past the pistons end up in the bottom of the engine, and they kind of find their way up around some sort of ducting through the cam cover at the back there, and they come out through what's called the PCV valve, which is just in the background there behind these blue pipes. Okay, so that's a little diaphragm, and that lets the gas out, and it goes back into the standard black plastic duct. Okay, so what you're doing there is you're putting oil mist, soot, inert gas and loads of other grot into your air intake after the air filter, which then goes round through your turbo, through your intercooler, through your throttle body and into the engine. It's going to blacken up the inside of the throttle body, it's going to coat your air flow sensors, your manifold absolute pressure sensor, well, not the mass airflow sensors there, but there are two sensors inside the throttle body. There's a temperature sensor and there is a manifold absolute pressure sensor. I have seen the inside of throttle bodies absolutely caked in black, oily, sooty mess. Okay, engines are supposed to breathe air, oxygen, clean air. What's the point in filtering the air if you're then going to inject a load of grot into the airstream before it goes into the engine? It's ridiculous. Okay, the only reason cars do that is for emissions. Okay, because you can't dump out oil and stuff onto the road. So I have a can which collects that oil, and then the output gas from that, I'm actually recirculating it back into my intake duct. Okay, so I've actually rigged mine back in there, and you need to do it that way for the MOT. I did it in August for the MOT, just left it like that. Okay, but other times I have actually just sent that down to a breather underneath the car. Not really notice any difference in how it runs, but at least that gas that's going in there is just sort of clean gas with most of that sort of oily rubbish removed from it. Okay, it's still not perfect, it's still going to be putting burnt gases into that airstream. Okay, so your engine is going to be breathing gas that cannot be used in the combustion process. It's probably not that good for performance. I've not really noticed any major difference really, but in an ideal world the engine would be fed nice clean pure air. Okay, so it's food for thought really. Somebody recently posted on the Freelander thing the other day, Freelander forum, and said catch cans not required because the oil is used to lubricate the inlet valves. I don't think that's true. Okay, it might be, I don't think it is. Okay, and the reason for that is when an engine's brand new, there is hardly any blow-by gas. There's certainly not a load of oil vapour coming out of the engine. The only reason mine chucks out all that rubbish is because the engine's done nearly 200,000 miles. If that oil mist was by design required for valve lubrication, then a new engine would seize up after 25 miles. Okay, it just, I just can't get my head around that possibly being true. Okay, if anybody knows for sure, please leave a comment. Keep it polite, please, because some people do get quite vocal on the comments. I'll come on to that in a minute. Okay, so headlight rods, catch can, roof light bar brackets. Roof light bar brackets, where are they? Here they are. Okay, so roof light bar brackets, these. Okay, so these are my roof light bar brackets, all right, and they go here. Okay, so it took me months, if not years, to develop these. Okay, so ages and ages and ages, kept going round the design process, getting that shape right, putting these nice patterns on, reinforcing bits there. Originally 3D printed, okay, and sold a few of those, and then people were reporting they were breaking. Okay, so they were sort of mysteriously breaking off. It was sort of failing here where I've got this hole. This hole's just cosmetic, really doesn't serve any purpose, but the 3D print just wasn't strong enough. Okay, so of course you go off road and a tree branch hits your light bar, it's just breaking the brackets off. So what I did is I made a 2-part silicone mould. Okay, 2-part silicone mould. It's the first time I've tried this actually. Clamp that together with some sort of wooden blocks and some straps around, and then I tip that up, pour in a rigid polyurethane. Okay, so it's not the sort of rubber polyurethane. This is like really hard. Okay, so it's kind of like Lego brick kind of hard plastic. Okay, so that then goes in there, and then after a few hours I demold, and I get what appears to be a 3D printed one. I mean, it is, you can actually see the grain of the 3D prints there, but this is cast. This is solid cast plastic, much stronger than the 3D print. Okay, so so those are on sale, £40 a pair if you want a pair, on my website beaverspits.com, and finally you can buy them. Okay, so lift spacers. Oh dear, here we go again. Lift spacers. This time last January, I stood here and I said, oh, lift spacers, yeah, you know, I'm going to stop making those soon, and I'll be taking the old spacers off my car and putting the new design on. And here we are, January 23, and I'm still saying the same thing. Okay, so I didn't make any of these for about a year, and then I just kept getting requests. People were sort of going, oh please, I need some lift spacers, So by popular demand I made another batch. Okay, so I made about another 30 spacers. All right, it's a lot of work and a lot of expense, resin and everything to make those. I've got silicone molds cast from 3D printed sort of positives or bucks or whatever you call it, and then I pour the polyurethane in, and I put the stainless steel inserts in, and then the high tension bolts and the washers and everything. There's a lot to it. Okay, so those are the front ones. Okay, so that's the front spacer with this sort of dish there to go on the front shock absorber top plate, which is curved, and let's just put that here. And then on the back we've got 2 sizes. Okay, so the front one is I advertise them as 20mm. It's only 25mm at the outer edge, but where the bolts go through it's about 20. You can't go much thicker because the bolts are slanted. Okay, the bolts are slanted, so if you start going really thick, the bolts just don't line up with the holes. There's one of the bolts, the other 2 are kind of hidden, but they don't line up with the holes on the bodywork. Okay, so that limits the thickness on the front. On the back you can go a bit thicker. Okay, so I do yellow, orange and black. I used to do red, but red I just had too many failures. The pigment was much thicker for red, and it just wasn't mixing properly. Even vacuum chamber degassing and everything, it just wasn't coming out very good. So this is a nice orange one, and that's a 30mm thick, and then we've got a 40mm rear. Okay, so on the front 20mm, on the back 30 or 40. Why more on the back? 2 reasons. One, the front appears to rise at a higher rate. Okay, so on cars where they've got the 20-30, the car is kind of level, right? So so the front suspension is just a slightly different geometry. Also, the other reason is I think it actually looks quite good with the back a little bit higher. Okay, so that's what I've got. I've got the back slightly higher, and then of course if you load up the boot with a load of gear, you've got a bit more height to play with. Another reason for getting the back end up off the ground even more is the fuel tank, which is underneath there. Fuel tank made of plastic. Rip that on a rock, that's it, game over. Okay, so you want maximum ground clearance on the back. I have actually fitted a tank guard on mine, but yeah, again, made by Mantech, who don't trade anymore. So yeah, okay, good luck getting one of those. They do come up second hand occasionally, very rare. Okay, so it's now pretty dark, so I'm going to try and finish this video now. Let's just have a quick look. So other things I mentioned about the catch can, this ducting here, this blue pipe here is what I'm going to use to connect up the catch can. And I'll also be looking at The glow plugs need doing. The inlet manifold has to come off, so I'll also do the swirl flaps which are inside the inlet manifold, okay? And might also do a video on steering lock and the steering lock emulator. What happens if your steering lock says it's locked when it isn't, or locks and you can't unlock it. And that's about it. Now please leave a comment and let me know what else you would like. Would you like me to try and make some of these light guards? Okay, I keep getting asked that. That would be a difficult project. You can't really get these anymore, so maybe I could make my own version of these light guards. I don't know really. That's probably the top thing I get asked. People asking me for those all the time. So yeah, I mean, do leave comments on my video. I do enjoy reading the comments and responding to the comments. Do sometimes get some negative comments. It's hard to deal with. YouTube is a sort of a public sort of platform really, so you're gonna get people who've just got nothing better to do than say negative things and be rude and that sort of thing. It's hard. I do struggle with it. I've had to sort of block a few of my viewers because they've just been a bit too vocal really. So I know my videos are very long. Oh, now my light's gone off. Come on, light. There we go. Okay, my videos are very long. I mean, you know, this one's a good example. I've been wittering on now for about an hour. So I do talk a lot. Okay, so I will try and keep the length of the videos down. I mean, some people sort of post things. Here's something I had the other day, somebody going, oh my god, you know, it's like watching paint dry. Well, okay, I think that was my wheel bearing video he was referring to. Well, it's the first time I've done it, and I'm doing it at home. I haven't even got a garage, okay, so I'm out here sort of in all weathers doing that kind of thing. You know, I do this for free, okay? People seem to think I make thousands of pounds out of YouTube. I mean, I don't. I make about 50 to 80 pounds a month in YouTube revenue. I do make some money from my parts as well. Every single penny that I get from the parts and the YouTube revenue goes back into this channel, buying all these bits, buying the materials. You know, it's an expensive business, this sort of YouTubing really. You know, the parts, the tools, the materials, the electric to run the 3D printers, the you know, the website hosting and all that kind of thing. It all costs a lot of money. I mean, here's a graph now, just quickly showing the past 12 months. So this graph shows how much money I got from YouTube. Then when I add on the parts revenue that I got, it's all looking pretty good. But then when we take off the expenses, I actually make a loss. So I do this at a loss for you guys to watch for free. Now, you know, it's really nice to get the positive comments, and some of you are like, oh thanks, you taught me so much and all that. I love reading those, that's great. But the people that have got nothing better to do than be rude and be negative, anyone would think I was charging them to watch my videos. Okay, so you know, there are adverts at the beginning of my video, possibly at the end. If you have YouTube Premium, you won't get any adverts, okay? There's a small monthly fee for the Premium, but you don't get any adverts. You can also download the videos, which is great. Okay, you can watch them later when you're out for a walk with the dog or something. So so you know, I do this sort of as a bit of a hobby and as a kind of voluntary thing. I don't have to do this. I could sell this and buy a Toyota, but I'll try not to. Okay, so yeah, I will keep doing this, and yeah, I mean, maybe one day I'll actually make quite a bit of money from it, and I can actually do this full time, do it properly. That would be nice. At the moment, I need the day job, so IT by day and Land Rovers by night. Okay, so that's it really. Yeah, this all started off as just a bit of fun, really, a bit of a hobby. I filmed a video on I don't know what it was. I think it was wiring up a hands-free kit or something like that, and that's where it all started. Here we go, 120 videos later, I'm still going, and I've started something now, so I can't finish it now. Got to keep it going. So, Happy New Year again to any of you who are still watching. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, And for those of you who are still watching, most of you will have stopped by now and given up and switched across to another channel. But for those of you who are still watching, as a reward, I'd like to give you free postage for the whole month of January, anywhere in the world, on any of my parts, including lift spaces. They're really heavy. Costs £70 to post those to Australia and New Zealand. I will send them to you for free, okay? Just buy the spacers, no postage cost, all month, okay? None of my parts will have any postage. All you need to do is use the voucher code JAN23, okay? So when you check out on my website, put in JAN23 and you won't pay any postage, okay? So thank you very much for all your support, and May 2023 be a great year for you. I will try and provide you with regular interesting videos, not too long hopefully, and yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Right, that's it. That's the end. Until next time, have a great new year, and I hope your Christmas was good if you celebrate Christmas, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.